The evening air carried a soft warmth that hinted at the lingering touch of summer. It was the kind of suburban twilight that felt safe and predictable, the kind where porch lights flickered on one by one, and the scent of freshly mowed grass floated lazily down quiet streets. Emily Peterson, a young mother in her late 20s, tightened her grip on her daughter's tiny hand as they walked along the familiar sidewalk. 3-year-old Lily bounced beside her, humming an off-key tune only she seemed to know. Each step of the little girl's pink sneakers landed with a squeak, a cheerful counterpoint to the hush settling over the neighborhood. Emily had chosen this time for their walk because it was peaceful too early for the night to feel threatening, too late for the heat of the day to linger. The street they strolled was lined with tidy lawns, symmetrical hedges, and houses whose windows glowed softly like warm lanterns. A few neighbors waved from their porches, their evening routines unfolding in gentle predictability. For Emily, this quiet suburban life was a far cry from the noisy city upbringing she'd once known, and she cherished it. The world, at least on this street, seemed steady and safe. But Lily's restless energy often refused to be contained by routine. Tonight was no different. The little girl skipped ahead, letting go of Emily's hand just long enough to chase the fading orange streaks of sunset. "Stay close, sweetheart," Emily called, though her voice carried more affection than warning. Lily turned with a mischievous grin, her cheeks flushed with the thrill of small freedoms. That was when Emily noticed the police cruiser park half a block ahead. Its white and blue body reflected the last of the sunlight, the faint glint of its chrome details catching Emily's eye. A tall officer stood near the vehicle, speaking quietly into a handheld radio. But it wasn't the car or the officer that held Lily's sudden fascination. It was the dog. Beside the officer stood a German shepherd of striking presence. The dog's coat gleamed in shades of sable and black, muscles rippling beneath its sleek fur. It sat with perfect posture, ears erect, amber eyes alert yet calm. Even from a distance, Emily could sense the animal's power, a quiet, contained energy that spoke of discipline and training. A police canine, she realized. "Doggy." Lily squealed, her voice slicing through the peaceful evening. She tugged on Emily's hand, her small body straining toward the sight as if drawn by a magnet. "Mommy, look." A big puppy. Emily smiled despite a flicker of hesitation. She had always taught Lily to be careful around animals they didn't know, but the officer's relaxed stance suggested there was no immediate danger. Still, this was no ordinary pet. "That's a police dog," Emily said gently. "We can't just run up to him." But Lily's wide, curious eyes never left the animal. "Please, Mommy? Just to say hi?" As if on cue, the officer turned and noticed them. His serious expression softened into a friendly smile, and he gave a small wave. "Evening," he called, his voice carrying easily in the still air. "You're welcome to come over if she'd like to meet Rex. He's friendly with kids." Emily hesitated for a heartbeat, instinctively weighing the risks. But the officer's approachable demeanor and the dog's calm, patient posture reassured her. She nodded and guided Lily forward, her daughter practically skipping with excitement. As they drew closer, Emily could see the intricate badge sewn onto the officer's dark uniform and the sturdy leash clipped to the dog's harness. The name Rex was embroidered neatly along the strap. The dog's eyes tracked their approach with keen intelligence, but his body remained motionless, every inch the model of professional discipline. "Hi there," the officer greeted warmly. "I'm Officer Daniels, and this is Rex. He's one of our canine partners." Lily tilted her head back to look up at him, her face glowing with awe. "He's so big," she exclaimed, her tiny voice brimming with wonder. Officer Daniels chuckled. "He's big, but he's a gentle giant when he needs to be. Would you like to say hello?" Emily crouched beside her daughter, brushing a strand of hair from Lily's face. Remember what we talked about, honey, gentle hands, okay? Yes, Mommy, Lily said earnestly, her excitement tempered by the promise of this rare encounter. Officer Daniels gave a slight nod to Rex, who responded by lowering his head slightly, a subtle signal of permission. Lily reached out one cautious finger, then another, until her small hand rested against the dog's fur. A delighted giggle burst from her lips as she felt the warmth of his coat beneath her palm. "He's soft," Lily whispered, as though speaking too loudly might break the spell. Rex's amber eyes flicked toward her, his ears twitching in acknowledgement. He didn't move otherwise, remaining perfectly still, as the little girl petted him with growing confidence. Emily felt a surprising rush of gratitude for the animal's gentle patience. "Does he talk?" Lily asked suddenly, her eyes flicking from Rex to Officer Daniels. The officer laughed. "Not with words like we do. But Rex talks with his nose. He can smell things most people can't even imagine." Lily's brow furrowed in deep thought, the way only a child's mind can fold around new wonders. "Smell things?" she repeated slowly. "That's right," Officer Daniels explained. "He can find missing people, track down clues, even smell something suspicious long before we can see it." Emily watched as Lily processed this information, her little face glowing with fascination. The world of grown-ups, of hidden scents and unseen dangers, suddenly felt closer, more tangible, through the eyes of a child. "Does he smell secrets?" Lily asked, tilting her head to match Rex's inquisitive posture. The question caught both Emily and the officer off guard. Emily laughed lightly, assuming it was just the innocent imagination of a curious toddler. "That's a funny thought, sweetheart," she said, giving her daughter's shoulder a gentle squeeze. But Lily didn't smile. Her eyes, wide and unusually serious, remained fixed on Rex. "He smells where bad people hide," she said quietly, almost as if sharing a secret of her own. Officer Daniels's smile faded just slightly. He studied the child for a long moment, something thoughtful flickering behind his professional composure. Emily felt a faint shiver pass through her, despite the warm evening air. Lily continued to pet Rex, her small fingers tracing absent patterns in his fur. "He's a good dog," she added softly. "He helps find the ones who come at night." Emily blinked, startled by the oddly specific phrasing. "The ones who come at night?" She opened her mouth to ask what Lily meant, but the words caught in her throat. It was probably nothing, just a child's imagination, sparked by the presence of a police dog. Still, a tiny thread of unease tugged at her mind. Children notice things adults often overlook. And tonight, under the soft glow of porch lights and fading daylight, her daughter's words seemed to carry a weight far heavier than a simple evening stroll should hold. Emily gave Lily's hand a gentle squeeze, her smile steady, though her thoughts were anything but. "Okay, sweetheart," she said softly. "Let's thank Officer Daniels and Rex for letting us say hello." But as they turned to leave, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that this encounter, this ordinary walk that had seemed so safe and predictable, was about to lead them somewhere far beyond the quiet comfort of their peaceful neighborhood. The street lamps flickered to life one by one as the last of the sunlight drained from the sky. A gentle breeze swept down the neighborhood, carrying the faint smell of wet soil and distant barbecue smoke. Emily tightened her grip on Lily's small hand, half expecting her daughter to skip happily along after their brief encounter. Instead, Lily lingered, her gaze following Rex and Officer Daniels, as if something invisible tethered her to them. Officer Daniels noticed the hesitation and offered an encouraging smile. "Would you like to see how Rex listens to commands?" he asked, crouching slightly to meet Lily's curious eyes. His voice was calm, but there was an undertone of pride, like a parent showing off a talented child. Lily's eyes widened. "He can do tricks?" "Not tricks," Daniels replied with a friendly grin. "He can do important jobs. He gave a quiet command in a language Emily didn't recognize. Instantly, Rex shifted from a sitting position to a flawless heel beside the officer. Muscles coiled but calm, every movement precise. Another word, and Rex lay flat on the pavement, his head resting on his paws, amber eyes locked on Daniel's. Lily gasped, clapping her tiny hands. "He's so smart." Emily couldn't help but smile. She'd seen well-trained dogs before, but Rex's focus was something else entirely, an intensity that made her both admire and respect the animal. There was no hint of rebellion in him, only an unbreakable bond with his handler. "Rex is trained to help keep people safe," Daniels explained. "He can find things most people would never notice. Lost people, hidden objects, even people who don't want to be found." The last phrase lingered in the air, sharp enough to draw Emily's attention. She tried to dismiss the small chill it brought. Maybe it was just the evening breeze. Lily, meanwhile, edged closer, her pink sneakers scuffing lightly against the concrete. "Can he smell secrets?" she asked again, her voice soft but insistent. Daniels tilted his head, clearly amused but also curious. "That's an interesting question," he said, kneeling so he was eye level with the child. "Why do you think he can?" Lily pressed a finger to her lips, glancing at Rex as though sharing a private understanding. "Because he knows things," she whispered. "He knows when someone is hiding." Emily's stomach tightened. It was the same odd phrasing as before, specific, yet vague enough to sound like imagination. But there was something in Lily's tone that made it hard to laugh off. "Children notice everything," Daniel said thoughtfully, catching Emily's uneasy glance. "Sometimes they see patterns we miss." He reached into his pocket and produced a small badge-shaped sticker, offering it to Lily. "This is for my newest helper." Lily accepted the sticker with a delighted squeal. "Thank you." She pressed it proudly onto the front of her jacket, the silver and blue emblem catching the glow of the streetlights. Rex shifted slightly, his ears twitching toward the distant sound of a car engine. It was barely audible to Emily, but the dog's quick response made her heart skip. His attention was absolute, scanning the quiet street with a silent authority that reassured and unsettled her at the same time. "He's always listening," Daniels explained, noticing Emily's curious glance. "Even when he looks relaxed, he's processing everything. Smells, sounds, movement." He gave Rex a gentle pat, and the dog's posture softened, though his eyes remained sharp. Lily crouched to meet Rex at eye level. "What do you hear?" she asked in a conspiratorial whisper, as if expecting the dog to answer. For a brief second, Rex tilted his head toward her, and Emily could have sworn the animal's gaze carried a spark of recognition, as though he understood more than anyone gave him credit for. The moment stretched, quiet and strangely intimate. Then Lily said something that made both adults stiffen. "The man with the blue car comes when it's dark," she murmured, still looking at Rex. "He hides by the trees." Emily's breath caught. "What man, sweetheart?" she asked quickly, trying to keep her voice light. "The man who doesn't knock," Lily replied matter-of-factly. "He watches windows." Officer Daniels's eyes sharpened, the easy warmth in his face replaced by professional focus. "Have you seen this man, Lily?" he asked gently. Lily nodded, her curls bouncing. "He drives slow. He looks at our house." Emily's heart raced. Images of her front gate slightly ajar, the faint crunch of gravel, late at night, small details she'd brushed off as coincidence flashed through her mind. She forced a shaky smile, kneeling beside her daughter. "Honey, when did you see him?" "Yesterday," Lily said without hesitation. "And before?" "Sometimes he stops and goes away when the lights come on." Daniels rose to his full height, his hand subtly resting near his radio. His calm voice betrayed a newfound urgency. "That's very helpful, Lily. Thank you for telling us." Emily's mind whirled. Could a 3-year-old story be more than imagination? Children were known for vivid fantasies, but Lily's description-specific car color, repeated sightings, the quiet certainty in her voice felt unsettlingly real. Daniels caught Emily's eye and lowered his voice. Has anyone unusual been around your property recently? Any signs of trespassing? Emily swallowed hard. I've noticed the front gate open a couple of mornings, but I thought maybe I'd forgotten to latch it. Do you have a security system? No, just standard locks. We never felt the need. Daniels nodded thoughtfully, his professional demeanor slipping into quiet concern. It might be time to reconsider. Kids don't always invent these things. Sometimes they notice patterns adults overlook. Lily, oblivious to the tension, reached up to stroke Rex's fur again. He can find the man, she said confidently. He smells secrets. Daniels crouched beside her once more. You might be right, Lily, he said gently. Rex is very good at finding people who shouldn't be here. Emily forced a smile, but her mind raced with possibilities. Neighbors she barely knew, delivery drivers she'd never spoken to, the shadows beyond her front yard that suddenly felt less harmless. The night deepened around them, porch lights brightening as darkness settled in. A car passed slowly at the far end of the street, its headlights slicing briefly through the quiet. Rex's ears twitched, his gaze following the movement until it disappeared around the corner. Daniels gave a quiet command, and Rex returned to his disciplined posture. I'll have a patrol swing by your street tonight, he said to Emily, his tone reassuring but firm. It's probably nothing, but we take these things seriously. Emily nodded, grateful yet uneasy. The thought of police patrols in her tranquil neighborhood felt surreal, as if the safe bubble of suburban life had been pierced without warning. As they prepared to leave, Lily turned back to Rex one last time. Find the man, she whispered, her voice carrying a conviction far beyond her years. Rex gave a small, almost imperceptible huff, his amber eyes reflecting the glow of the streetlights. Emily shivered, sensing the quiet promise in the dog's steady gaze. Officer Daniels offered a final reassuring smile. We'll keep watch tonight, he said. You both stay safe. Emily thanked him, taking Lily's hand and starting the slow walk home. The evening air felt different, now thicker, charged with possibilities she hadn't considered when they left the house. Lily skipped beside her, humming softly, unaware of the storm of thoughts unraveling in her mother's mind. Behind them, the soft click of Rex's nails on the pavement echoed briefly before fading into the night. Emily glanced back once, catching the silhouette of the officer and his dog framed against the dim streetlights. They looked like silent guardians, watching over a neighborhood that might not be as safe as she'd always believed. The next afternoon unfolded with the same comforting routine Emily had always loved about her neighborhood. Children riding bikes along the sidewalks, sprinklers misting emerald lawns, and the faint smell of grilled hamburgers drifting from backyards. Yet for Emily, the world no longer felt quite as safe. Since their encounter with Officer Daniels and Rex, an uneasy weight had settled over her thoughts. Every creak of the house, every distant engine in the night replayed in her mind with new significance. She tried to shake it off as she prepared Lily's snack in the cozy warmth of their kitchen. Lily, sitting cross-legged on the floor with a coloring book, hummed softly to herself. Crayons rolled across the tiles as she worked, her little brow furrowed in concentration. Emily watched her daughter with a strange mixture of admiration and worry. Could a 3-year-old truly notice something adults missed? Or had Lily's comments about the man with the blue car been nothing more than a child's wild imagination? Mommy, Lily said suddenly, her voice breaking through Emily's thoughts. Will the dog find him? Emily paused mid-slice, a knife trembling slightly in her hand. Find who, sweetheart? She asked carefully, though she already knew the answer. The man, Lily replied matter-of-factly, still coloring. The one who hides. A chill ran through Emily despite the warm kitchen. She forced a smile, crouching beside her daughter. Honey, can you tell me again about the man? What makes you think he hides? Lily glanced up, her eyes unusually serious for her age. Because I saw him. He stops his car and watches. He waits for lights to go off. Her tiny fingers tightened around a blue crayon, pressing it so hard the tip snapped. Emily swallowed hard. When did you see him, baby? Sometimes, Lily said with a shrug that seemed too casual for the weight of her words. Sometimes when I'm looking out my window after bedtime. He drives slow. He doesn't like lights. Emily's heart thudded painfully. She thought of the half-latched gate, the faint crunch of gravel she dismissed as a wandering cat, and the way Rex had focused so sharply on every sound during their meeting. This couldn't all be coincidence. That evening, determined not to let fear rule her, Emily decided to take Lily on another walk. Perhaps seeing the neighborhood in daylight would ease her mind. They strolled past the same houses and familiar yards, the sky painted with streaks of rose and violet. But when they neared the corner where the police cruiser had parked the night before, Emily's steps slowed. To her surprise, Officer Daniels and Rex were there again. Daniels leaned against the patrol car, speaking into his radio. Rex sat beside him, poised and attentive, his eyes scanning the street as if reading invisible signs. Look, Mommy, Lily squealed, breaking into a run. It's Rex. Emily quickened her pace, calling for her daughter to slow down. Daniels spotted them and smiled warmly, lowering his radio. Evening, he greeted. Back for another visit? Emily offered a nervous smile. Seems like we're making this a habit. Daniels chuckled, giving Rex a quick hand signal. The dog trotted forward to meet Lily, tail wagging slightly, but movements controlled. Lily threw her arms around his neck with unfiltered delight. Have you two been doing okay? Daniels asked, his tone casual but his eyes sharp. Emily hesitated. We're fine, but Lily keeps mentioning that man again. The one with the blue car. Daniels's expression tightened almost imperceptibly. He crouched to Lily's level. Hi, Lily. Can you tell me more about the man? Lily released Rex and tilted her head thoughtfully, her curls bouncing. He comes when it's dark. He stops near our house and looks. He wears a hat. A hat? Daniels repeated carefully. Do you remember what color? Lily frowned, thinking hard. Black, like nighttime. Emily's stomach twisted. The specificity of the detail, color, car, behavior felt far beyond the reach of childish fantasy. Has he ever come close to your door? Daniels asked softly. Lily shook her head. No, he stays near the trees. But Rex can smell him. Right, Rex? The German shepherd tilted his head slightly at the sound of his name, amber eyes fixed on Lily as though acknowledging her statement. Daniels gave a small nod, but his face remained serious. Emily's voice trembled despite her effort to remain calm. Officer, is there something happening in the area? Daniels straightened, his gaze scanning the street before meeting hers. We've had a few reports of suspicious activity in nearby neighborhoods. Someone peeking into windows, trying car doors. Nothing confirmed yet, but your daughter's observations are specific. Emily's breath caught. You think she really saw someone? Daniels hesitated, then said carefully, Children see more than we give them credit for, and they don't filter what they notice. Before Emily could respond, Rex stiffened, his ears snapping forward. A low rumble vibrated in his chest, a warning growl barely audible to human ears. Daniels followed the dog's gaze toward the far end of the street, where a faint glint of light flickered between the trees. A car. Its engine purred softly as it rolled slowly past the intersection before disappearing into the next block. Daniels's hand moved instinctively to his radio. He murmured a quiet message Emily couldn't hear, his eyes never leaving the road. Rex remained rigid, every muscle alert, his nose twitching as if tracking an unseen trail. "What is it?" Emily asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Daniels gave a reassuring but tense smile. "Probably nothing. Just staying cautious." But Emily wasn't convinced. The deliberate pace of that car, the way it lingered before turning her instincts, screamed that it was anything but nothing. Lily, meanwhile, tugged on Rex's leash with surprising certainty. "He smells the blue car," she said softly. "That's the one." Emily felt the hair rise on the back of her neck. Her daughter's voice carried no fear, only calm certainty, as though she were simply stating a fact. Daniels exchanged a quick glance with Emily, his expression confirming what neither wanted to admit aloud. This wasn't just a child's imagination. "Thank you, Lily," he said finally, crouching again to meet her eyes. "You're helping us a lot. Rex and I are going to make sure everyone stays safe, okay?" Lily nodded solemnly, then leaned closer to Rex. "Find him," she whispered into the dog's ear, her tiny hand resting against his thick fur. Rex gave a quiet huff, almost like a promise. Daniels rose and offered Emily a firm but gentle look. "We'll have an extra patrol in your area tonight. Keep your doors locked. And if you notice anything at all, call immediately." Emily nodded, her pulse pounding. The weight of the moment settled over her like a heavy blanket. The peaceful street around them suddenly felt different, darker, sharper, alive with hidden edges she hadn't seen before. As she led Lily back toward home, Emily glanced over her shoulder. Daniels stood beside the patrol car, speaking into his radio, Rex seated faithfully at his side. Both watched the street with unwavering focus, their silhouettes outlined by the fading glow of dusk. The ordinary world of tidy lawns and quiet evenings had shifted in a single conversation. What had begun as an innocent encounter between a child and a police dog was quickly unraveling into something far more serious. And though Emily tried to calm her racing thoughts, one truth pulsed relentlessly in her mind. Lily's small, serious voice might have just exposed a danger no one else could see. That night, sleep came to Emily in restless fragments. Shadows shifted across her bedroom walls as the branches outside swayed in the moonlight. Every sound, the groan of settling wood, the distant hum of a passing car, made her heart jump. She kept replaying Lily's quiet words in her mind. "The man with the blue car. He hides by the trees." Each repetition gnawed at the edges of her sanity, turning what once felt like a safe neighborhood into a landscape of hidden threats. Emily rose before dawn, her bare feet padding across the cool hardwood. The house was still and dark, save for the soft hum of the refrigerator. She checked the locks on the doors and windows, double-checked the latch on the backyard gate, and peered through the curtains toward the street. Nothing moved except the faint rustle of leaves under the street lamp's pale glow. Still, she felt watched. By morning, the world outside looked deceptively normal. Children rode their bikes to school, neighbors waved from driveways, and a mail carrier trundled along with his cart. Yet Emily couldn't shake the tension coiled inside her. When Lily bounded into the kitchen, bright-eyed and chattering about breakfast, Emily envied her daughter's innocence. "Can we see Rex today?" Lily asked between bites of cereal. Emily hesitated. Part of her wanted to keep Lily home, safe behind the locked doors. But another part knew Officer Daniels's presence, and Rex's watchful eyes offered a strange sense of comfort. "Maybe," she said carefully, "if we go for a walk later." That afternoon, the September sun burned gold across the sidewalks as Emily and Lily strolled toward the park. Emily scanned every corner, her senses sharp. A few cars passed by, none of them blue. Still, each engine rumble made her pulse quicken. They found Officer Daniels near the small playground, speaking with another officer beside a patrol car. Rex lay at his feet, eyes alert despite his relaxed posture. The moment he spotted Lily, his ears perked and tail flicked in recognition. "Back again," Daniels greeted warmly, though a subtle tension undercut his smile. "How are you two holding up?" Emily managed a polite nod. "A little on edge, to be honest." "That's understandable," he said, crouching to give Lily a high five. "You've been a big help, you know. We've had more calls about a suspicious vehicle in the area. Your description matches a car we've been looking for." Emily's heart skipped. "So there is someone?" Daniels lowered his voice, careful not to alarm Lily. "We don't want to jump to conclusions, but we're taking it seriously. Your daughter's details, color, behavior, even the hat line up with reports from nearby neighborhoods. The man may be connected to several nighttime burglaries." Emily tightened her grip on Lily's small hand. The world tilted slightly, fear sharpening the afternoon air. "And he's been here?" Daniels nodded. "At least once. We've increased patrols. Last night, one of our units spotted a blue sedan circling a few blocks over. The driver left before we could make contact." Lily tugged on Rex's leash, her voice quiet but steady. "He'll come back. He wants to look again." Daniels regarded her with the kind of respect rarely given to children. "Why do you think that, Lily?" "Because he doesn't like lights," Lily said simply. "He waits for dark. He thinks no one sees him." Emily's chest tightened. These weren't random guesses. They were observations. Somehow, her little girl had pieced together a pattern the adults were only beginning to confirm. Daniels straightened, his eyes sweeping the park with practiced caution. "We're setting up a stackout tonight. If he returns, we'll catch him." He paused, then added, "Do you have anyone who can stay with you, just in case?" Emily shook her head. Her family lived 2 states away, and most of her close friends worked late or had children of their own. "Then keep your doors locked and your phone nearby," Daniels said firmly. "We'll have a patrol close by." Emily nodded, the weight of his words settling like a stone in her stomach. Lily, seemingly unfazed, crouched beside Rex and whispered into his ear. Emily couldn't hear the words, but the dog leaned closer, his amber eyes softening as if he understood. Daniels watched with quiet fascination. "Dogs like Rex pick up on things we can't," he said. "Sometimes kids do too. They don't dismiss their instincts." As dusk approached, Emily led Lily home, every step heavier than the last. The familiar houses now seemed to loom with silent menace, their shadows stretching long and dark across the sidewalk. She couldn't stop glancing over her shoulder, half expecting to see a blue car crawling behind them. That evening, Emily followed every precaution Daniels had advised. She locked the doors, checked the windows, and left the porch light burning bright. Lily helped by gathering her stuffed animals near the couch, arranging them like silent guardians. "Will Rex come if we need him?" Lily asked as Emily tucked her into bed. "Yes," Emily whispered, smoothing her daughter's hair. "Officer Daniels and Rex are nearby. They'll keep us safe." But even as she said the words, Emily knew comfort was only partial. Safety felt fragile, like a thin sheet of glass between them and the unknown. Hours passed in a haze of restless waiting. Emily sat near the front window, the glow of a small lamp her only company. Outside, the street lay quiet beneath a canopy of stars. From time to time, the faint sweep of headlights announced a passing patrol car, their presence both reassuring and terrifying. Near midnight, a soft crunch echoed from the direction of the side gate. Emily stiffened, her breath catching. She strained to listen. Another crunch closer this time. Heart hammering, she reached for her phone, her fingers trembling. Before she could dial, a shadow moved across the far end of the yard. A car door shut softly. Emily darted to the window, peering through the narrow slit between curtains. Under the weak glow of the streetlight, she glimpsed it. A blue sedan, its headlights dark, rolling slowly past her house. Her stomach dropped. Lily's voice replayed in her mind. He doesn't like lights. He waits for dark. Emily dialed with shaking hands. "This is Emily Peterson," she whispered urgently when the dispatcher answered. "The car. The blue car is here." Within minutes, flashing red and blue lights sliced through the quiet night. A patrol car screeched to a stop, and 2 officers leapt out, radios crackling. The blue sedan accelerated, tires squealing as it turned sharply down the next street. Emily clutched the phone to her ear, heart pounding like a drum. Somewhere in the distance, a siren wailed. Upstairs, Lily stirred but didn't wake. She slept peacefully, unaware that her quiet observations had just set a trap into motion. Emily sank to the floor, adrenaline coursing through her veins. She realized with a shiver that her daughter's words, dismissed at first as innocent curiosity, were not only real but potentially life-saving. The night stretched on, punctuated by the distant echoes of pursuit. Emily stayed by the window until the street fell silent once more. But she knew silence no longer meant safety. Somewhere beyond the darkened houses, a man in a blue car now understood that someone small and impossibly perceptive had seen him. And thanks to that tiny voice, the hunters were closing in. The night after the blue sedan's sudden appearance stretched long and restless, like a taut wire humming with invisible tension. Emily barely slept, drifting in and out of uneasy dreams where every sound outside became a threat. Each creak of the house, each sigh of the wind, jolted her awake. Lily, miraculously, remained calm and serene, her small breath steady in the soft darkness of her bedroom. Emily envied that peace. Morning sunlight finally crept across the curtains, but it offered no real comfort. Emily felt the unease in her bones. After making a pot of coffee she barely tasted, she sat at the kitchen table, phone in hand, waiting for an update from Officer Daniels. She kept the blinds tilted so she could peer out toward the street without being seen. Around 9 a.m., her phone buzzed. Daniels's voice was steady, but beneath the practiced calm Emily detected a note of urgency. "We've identified the car," he said without preamble. "Registered to a man named Gerald Fenton. He has a record, mostly theft, a few trespassing charges. Nothing violent on paper, but he's been escalating. Last night's pursuit ended when he ditched the vehicle a few blocks away. We found burglary tools inside. He's still at large, but we're tightening the search." Emily's grip on the phone tightened. "Do you think he'll come back?" "That's the concern," Daniels admitted. "Criminals often return to familiar areas, especially if they think they've been spotted. We're increasing patrols, but we'd like to set up surveillance near your property. Would you be comfortable with that?" "Yes," Emily said without hesitation. "Anything to keep Lily safe." "Good. We'll have unmarked units nearby tonight. Just go about your evening as normally as you can. And keep doors and windows secured." Emily hung up and exhaled, only then realizing she'd been holding her breath. Surveillance was a relief, but the thought of officers hiding nearby, waiting for a criminal to reappear, made her stomach twist. Lily wandered into the kitchen, clutching her favorite stuffed rabbit. Her curls were a sleepy tangle, her cheeks flushed from a deep, untroubled rest. "Mommy, did Rex find the bad man?" she asked softly. Emily knelt beside her, brushing a stray curl from her daughter's forehead. "Not yet, sweetie, but the officers are looking very hard." Lily nodded, thoughtful. "He'll come back. Bad people always come back if they forget something." Emily froze. "Forget something? What do you mean, honey?" "He left his smell," Lily said matter-of-factly. "Dogs remember smells. Rex will smell it again, The word sent a chill racing through Emily. It was exactly the kind of thing Daniels had said about canine tracking. How could Lily, barely 3 years old, speak with such eerie precision? That afternoon passed in a slow-motion haze. Emily tried to maintain normalcy reading books with Lily, baking cookies, but her eyes constantly flicked to the windows. A few times she thought she heard the low growl of a distant engine, only to realize it was a neighbor's lawnmower or a passing truck. As evening approached, Daniels arrived in an unmarked car with 2 other officers. Rex leapt gracefully from the back seat, tail wagging but eyes sharp. "Just a precaution," Daniels explained quietly as they stepped inside for a brief check. "We'll position ourselves nearby once it's dark. If he returns, we'll intercept before he gets close." Emily thanked them, her voice trembling despite her effort to remain calm. Lily clapped happily when she saw Rex, dropping to her knees to hug the dog's thick neck. "Rex is ready," she whispered into his fur. "He knows the secret path." Daniels caught the phrase and raised an eyebrow. "Secret path?" Lily pointed toward the narrow alley that ran behind their backyard. "That way. He hides there when he watches." Daniels exchanged a look with the other officers. "We'll cover it," he said, already shifting into command mode. As dusk deepened, the quiet of the neighborhood thickened into something heavier, almost electric. Emily followed her normal evening routine dinner, bath time, a bedtime story for Lily, while her mind remained laser-focused on every sound outside. Each faint crunch of gravel or distant bark made her pulse quicken. By 9 p.m., Lily was asleep, her small hand curled around the ear of her stuffed rabbit. Emily sat in the living room with a book she couldn't bring herself to read. The house seemed to listen with her, the silence broken only by the occasional creak of settling wood. A soft buzz on her phone startled her. A text from Daniels flashed across the screen. "All units in place. Remain inside. Lights on. Doors locked." Emily moved to the front window and peeked through the curtain's narrow gap. The street lay calm and empty under the streetlights. But beyond the soft pools of light, darkness pooled in the corners, places where a person could hide unseen. Minutes crawled by, each one stretched thin with anticipation. Then, faint and distant, the low purr of an engine drifted through the night. Emily stiffened. Slowly, a shadow slid along the curb, a car moving with deliberate slowness, headlights off. Her heart leapt into her throat. Even from a distance, she recognized the silhouette. The blue sedan. It coasted to a stop near the alley Lily had mentioned, engine idling so quietly, Emily almost doubted her ears. A figure emerged, moving with a predator's caution. Before fear could paralyze her, Emily grabbed her phone and typed a single word to Daniels. "Here." Almost instantly, dark shapes detached from the night officers, moving silently into position. Emily held her breath, watching through the narrow slit in the curtain as the man crouched near her back fence. He wore a hooded sweatshirt and gloves, a small flashlight clutched in one hand. Suddenly, a low growl pierced the night. "Rex." The sound was deep, commanding, unmistakably threatening. The man froze, jerking his head toward the alley. "Police, don't move." Daniels's voice rang out, sharp and authoritative. The figure bolted, but Rex lunged forward with incredible speed, a blur of muscle and precision. In seconds, the dog had cut off the escape path, teeth bared in a warning snarl. Officers swarmed, their flashlights slicing through the darkness. "Get on the ground." The suspect hesitated, then dropped the flashlight and fell to his knees, hands raised. Handcuffs clicked into place as Daniels and his team secured the man. From her vantage point inside, Emily trembled, a mix of fear and overwhelming relief flooding her veins. She pressed a hand to her mouth to keep from gasping aloud, not wanting to wake Lily. Moments later, Daniels approached the house. Emily opened the door cautiously, her heart still racing. "He's in custody," Daniels said quietly. "We caught him with burglary tools and a list of addresses, including yours. He planned to break in tonight." Emily's knees went weak. "Oh my God. You and Lily were his next target," Daniels continued. "Your daughter's description gave us everything we needed to set the trap. She saved lives tonight." Emily turned to glance up the staircase, where Lily slept peacefully, unaware of the danger she had prevented. Her chest tightened with gratitude and awe. Can I see Rex?" she asked, needing to thank the dog who had helped protect them. Daniels smiled faintly and signaled. Rex trotted over, eyes bright and tail wagging as if the night's tension had never existed. Emily knelt, burying her hands in the dog's thick fur. "Good boy," she whispered, tears welling in her eyes. Rex leaned into her touch, the steady warmth of his presence grounding her in the reality of their safety. Behind them, the suspect was led to a waiting patrol car, his hood pulled back to reveal a gaunt face and cold eyes. He glanced once toward the house, but Emily stood taller, comforted by the wall of officers and the fearless canine between them. As the blue sedan was towed away and the flashing lights faded into the night, Emily finally allowed herself to breathe. The danger had been real, closer than she'd dared imagine, but it had been stopped thanks to the keen senses of a dog, the vigilance of the police, and the extraordinary awareness of a 3-year-old girl who refused to ignore what she saw. Inside, the house felt different now. Still safe and strong. Emily knew this night would stay etched in her memory forever, a reminder that heroes sometimes come in unexpected forms, like a fearless police dog, and a child whose innocent words exposed everything. The sirens faded into the distance, swallowed by the stillness of the early morning hours, yet the echoes of the night's tension clung stubbornly to Emily's mind. Inside the quiet house, she stood in the living room, long after the police convoy disappeared, listening to the hum of the refrigerator and the steady tick of the wall clock. Each sound felt sharper, more defined, as though her senses had been permanently rewired by the adrenaline coursing through her veins. Upstairs, Lily remained blissfully asleep, her dreams untouched by the chaos outside. Emily glanced toward her daughter's door, debating whether to wake her. But there was comfort in knowing Lily's innocence was still intact for a few more hours. The danger had been captured, but Emily's heart still pounded, unwilling to accept the relief that logic insisted she should feel. Officer Daniels returned around 2 a.m., his figure framed in the soft glow of the porch light. Emily opened the door before he could knock, her face a mixture of exhaustion and desperate curiosity. Rex padded in beside him, his tongue lolling slightly, the picture of a dog who had performed his duty with unwavering focus. "It's over," Daniels said, his voice firm but gentle. "The suspect is in custody. He's being processed downtown right now." Emily exhaled a long, shaky breath. "Did he say anything?" Daniels nodded, removing his cap and rubbing a hand across his tired face. "He's been on a spree for weeks, breaking into homes in nearby neighborhoods, taking electronics, jewelry, anything easy to sell. Tonight he admitted he'd been watching your house for several nights, trying to figure out the best way in. If not for your daughter's sharp eyes, he might have succeeded before we caught him." Emily felt the room tilt slightly as the words sank in. Several nights. The thought of a stranger lingering outside their home while she and Lily slept was almost unbearable. Her chest tightened with a rush of gratitude for the officers, and for the child who had noticed what grown-ups had missed. Rex sat at Daniels's side, eyes alert despite the late hour. Emily knelt and stroked the dog's thick fur. "You were incredible tonight," she whispered, her voice breaking. Rex pressed his head into her palm, warm and steady, a living reassurance that the danger was behind them. Daniels watched the interaction with a small, knowing smile. He's trained to protect, but instincts like his go beyond training. He trusted Lily's information before any of us even realized how accurate it was. It's like he understood she was telling the truth. Emily managed a faint laugh, wiping at her eyes. Lily says Rex can smell secrets. Maybe she's right, Daniels replied, half joking, but with a trace of wonder in his tone. Kids and dogs, they see and sense things we sometimes overlook. As dawn crept across the horizon, painting the sky in shades of lavender and gold, Emily made coffee while Daniels filled out a preliminary report at the kitchen counter. Rex stretched out on the rug, finally resting, but still alert enough to lift his head at the faintest sound. Emily offered Daniels a cup, and they sat together in the quiet house, the night's events replaying in fragments between them. "We'll keep a patrol near your street for a few more days," Daniels assured her. "Even though we've got him, it's standard procedure. I don't expect any more trouble." Emily nodded, comforted by the promise of continued vigilance. "What will happen to him now?" "He'll face multiple charges: breaking and entering, possession of burglary tools, attempted burglary tonight. With his record, the court won't go easy. He'll be off the streets for a long while." Emily let out a slow breath, the reality finally settling over her like a warm blanket. The threat was gone. Her home was safe. Lily could sleep without fear. The sound of small footsteps interrupted their conversation. Lily padded into the room, rubbing her eyes and clutching her stuffed rabbit. She blinked at the sight of Daniels and Rex, her sleepy confusion giving way to a wide, delighted smile. "Rex!" she squealed, rushing to the dog's side. Rex wagged his tail and nudged her gently with his nose. Emily knelt beside her daughter, brushing back her curls. "Sweetheart, do you remember the man with the blue car?" Lily nodded solemnly. "Did Rex find him?" Daniels smiled. "He sure did. Because of you, Lily. You helped us catch him before he could hurt anyone else." Lily's eyes widened, her small face lighting with pride. "I helped?" "You did," Daniels said warmly. "You were very brave." Lily hugged Rex tightly, burying her face in his fur. "I knew he could smell the secrets," she whispered. Emily exchanged a glance with Daniels, both of them struck by the simple truth in Lily's words. Sometimes, the smallest voices carried the greatest wisdom. Later that morning, after Daniels and Rex left to file their reports, Emily took Lily to the front porch. The street looked perfectly ordinary in the daylight quiet houses, neatly trimmed lawns, birds hopping across the grass. It was hard to reconcile this peaceful scene with the tension of the night before. Neighbors began to emerge, curious about the flashing lights and late-night commotion. Mrs. Palmer from next door approached with a worried expression. "Emily, was everything okay last night?" "We saw the police." Emily offered a reassuring smile, though her voice trembled slightly as she explained the situation. Gasps and murmurs rippled through the small crowd that gathered, her shock mirrored in wide eyes and pale faces. "You mean that man has been sneaking around here?" one neighbor exclaimed. "Yes," Emily confirmed. "But thanks to Lily's observation, the police caught him." All eyes turned to the little girl clutching her stuffed rabbit and standing proudly by her mother's side. Lily smiled shyly as neighbors showered her with praise. Someone handed her a small bouquet of flowers, and another neighbor promised to bring cookies later. Emily watched with quiet pride, her heart swelling at the sight of her daughter being recognized for her courage. The entire neighborhood now understood what Emily had come to realize during the long, terrifying night. Lily's keen senses and fearless honesty had protected them all. As the day unfolded, news of the capture spread quickly. Local reporters arrived, eager to interview the tiny hero who had helped stop a dangerous criminal. Cameras flashed as Lily sat beside Rex for a photo, the police dog's steady presence lending a sense of gravity to the cheerful scene. Emily stood behind her daughter during the interviews, offering gentle prompts, but allowing Lily's natural charm to shine. When asked how she knew something was wrong, Lily simply said, "I just saw what nobody else was looking at." The reporters chuckled, clearly charmed, but Emily recognized the profound truth in those simple words. By evening, as the neighborhood settled back into its familiar rhythm, Emily finally allowed herself to relax. She and Lily curled up on the couch, the soft glow of the lamp wrapping them in warmth. Outside, a patrol car rolled slowly past, its presence both comforting and symbolic, a quiet reminder that vigilance had triumphed over danger. Emily hugged her daughter close, inhaling the sweet scent of her hair. "You were amazing last night," she whispered. "You helped keep everyone safe." Lily tilted her head, thoughtful. "I just listened to Rex," she said softly. "He knew." Emily smiled, tears prickling at the corners of her eyes. Whether it was instinct, innocence, or something deeper, her daughter and the brave police dog had seen what others missed. Together, they had stopped a predator in his tracks. As night fell once again, the Peterson home glowed with a newfound sense of security. The fear that had haunted Emily's dreams was gone, replaced by a quiet strength. She knew life would eventually return to normal school runs, grocery trips, bedtime stories, but it would never be quite the same. Because in one unforgettable night, a 3-year-old girl and a steadfast dog had proven that sometimes the smallest heroes make the biggest difference. Morning sunlight streamed through the living room windows like a soft celebration of survival. Emily woke to the faint smell of fresh coffee and the comforting weight of normalcy. But today, normal felt extraordinary. The house that had been wrapped in fear for days now hummed with a quiet triumph. Lily padded downstairs in her pajamas, rubbing her sleepy eyes and clutching her beloved stuffed rabbit. The innocence in her face reminded Emily of how close they had come to losing the peace they once took for granted. The quiet of the early morning didn't last long. By mid-morning, the Peterson front yard had become a gathering place. Curious neighbors drifted over, each carrying stories of the flashing lights they'd seen during the night. Some brought pastries or flowers, their voices a mixture of gratitude and disbelief. "I can't believe it," Mrs. Palmer said, her hand pressed to her chest as she handed Emily a plate of still-warm cinnamon rolls. "Right here on our street. And Lily, oh, sweetheart, you're the bravest girl I know." Lily accepted the compliment with a shy smile, hiding partly behind Emily's leg while still peeking out to greet the familiar faces. Her small presence carried a quiet gravity that captivated everyone around her. Soon, the sound of car doors and soft chatter signaled the arrival of Officer Daniels and Rex. The big German shepherd leapt gracefully from the back of the patrol SUV, tail wagging like a banner of victory. Lily squealed with delight and raced toward him, her stuffed rabbit bouncing in one hand. Rex met her halfway, lowering his head to nuzzle her shoulder as if greeting an old friend. "Good morning, heroes," Daniels called, his smile warm but tired. He carried a framed certificate tucked under one arm and a shiny police department badge in his other hand. "We have a few special things to share today." Emily guided Lily closer as neighbors gathered around. Daniels crouched to meet Lily at eye level, his voice gentle but full of admiration. "Lily, because of your courage and quick thinking, our department was able to capture a dangerous suspect before he could hurt anyone else. You helped Rex and the whole police team keep your neighborhood safe. So we'd like to present you with this." He handed her the framed certificate, its bold lettering declaring her an honorary junior detective. Lily's eyes widened as she traced the gold seal with her tiny fingers. The crowd clapped and cheered, the sound filling the street with warmth and pride. "And that's not all," Daniels continued. He held out the polished badge small enough for Lily to pin on her shirt. "This is a special K9 helper badge, so everyone knows you're part of Rex's team. Lily gasped and clutched the badge to her chest, her smile radiant. "I'm on Rex's team?" "Absolutely," Daniel said, his eyes shining. "You noticed something the rest of us missed. That makes you a real detective in our book." The neighbors erupted in another round of applause. Some wiped tears from their eyes. Others simply stood in awe of the little girl who had changed the course of their lives with a few carefully observed details. Reporters arrived soon after, their cameras flashing as they captured images of Lily standing proudly beside Rex and Officer Daniels. Emily remained close, her protective instincts sharp, but she allowed her daughter to bask in the recognition she deserved. One reporter crouched down and asked gently, "Lily, how did you know the man in the blue car was bad?" Lily tilted her head, thinking carefully before answering. "I just saw what nobody else was looking at," she said simply. And Rex smelled the secrets. The crowd chuckled, but the words carried a quiet wisdom that struck deeper than amusement. Emily felt her throat tighten with emotion. Children had a way of distilling truth into something pure and undeniable. As the interviews continued, Emily watched Lily's confidence blossom. Though she remained shy, each question she answered revealed the extraordinary blend of innocence and perception that had made her the key to the investigation. She spoke about noticing the blue car, the man's strange behavior, and how Rex listened with his nose, all while clutching her stuffed rabbit and wearing her new badge like a treasure. After the reporters packed up their gear and the neighbors began to drift back to their homes, Daniels stayed behind with Rex. The street grew quieter again, but the feeling of community remained strong, like an invisible shield around the Peterson home. "You've got quite a daughter," Daniel said to Emily, his voice low enough that only she could hear. Most adults wouldn't have paid attention to what she noticed. Her instincts were incredible. Emily smiled, pride swelling in her chest. "She's always been observant, but I never imagined it would matter this much. I almost brushed it off as imagination." "Don't underestimate it," Daniel said, his expression serious. "Kids see things differently. They notice patterns, small changes, things we're too distracted to catch." Last night, that perspective saved lives. Emily glanced down at Lily, who was now showing Rex her stuffed rabbit, whispering a private story to the patient dog. "I'll never ignore her instincts again," she said quietly. As the sun climbed higher, the Peterson home became a beacon of safety and inspiration. Friends from across town began stopping by, some with children in tow, eager to meet the young hero they had seen on the morning news. Parents thanked Emily, sharing their own fears about crime and their newfound respect for their children's observations. Emily graciously accepted their kind words, but inside she reflected on the delicate balance of fear and vigilance. The night's events had changed her. She no longer saw their neighborhood as an impenetrable bubble of suburban calm. Instead, she recognized the fragile nature of safety and the surprising sources of strength that could emerge when it was threatened. That evening, the house finally settled back into quiet. Emily prepared a simple dinner of pasta and garlic bread, her movements slow but peaceful. Lily sat at the table wearing her badge proudly, recounting every detail of the day's excitement to her stuffed animals, who now sat in a neat row as her detective team. "Rex was so fast," she told them, her voice animated. "And the man didn't even know we were watching." Emily listened from the kitchen, her heart swelling with a mixture of pride and lingering awe. She thought of the long, sleepless nights, the fear of shadows, and the way her 3-year-old had faced it all with quiet certainty. After dinner, Emily tucked Lily into bed, smoothing the blanket around her shoulders. "You were amazing today," she whispered. "You helped Rex and the police catch a very bad man." Lily yawned, her eyelids growing heavy. "I just wanted to help," she murmured. "Rex knows secrets, but I can see them too." Emily kissed her forehead, tears pricking her eyes. Yes, sweetheart. You can. As Lily drifted into sleep, Emily lingered at the doorway, watching the steady rise and fall of her daughter's chest. The badge lay on the knitstand, gleaming softly in the lamplight, a small, shining reminder that courage comes in unexpected forms. Downstairs, Emily stepped onto the porch, inhaling the crisp evening air. The street was quiet again, but it no longer felt threatening. Instead, it pulsed with the shared strength of a community that had rallied together. Across the way, a neighbor's porch light flicked on in a silent gesture of solidarity. Emily returned the nod, her heart full. She understood now that heroes weren't just officers in uniforms or dogs with sharp instincts. Sometimes heroes wore footy pajamas and carried stuffed rabbits. Sometimes they were 3 years old and brave enough to see what no one else dared to notice. The night settled around the Peterson home like a protective embrace. Tomorrow would bring new routines, school runs, grocery lists, ordinary tasks, but the memory of this day would remain, shining quietly in the corners of Emily's heart. Because once, on an ordinary street in an ordinary town, a little girl and a loyal dog reminded everyone that the smallest eyes often see the biggest truths and that even the tiniest heroes can change the world. Morning arrived with a gentle hush, as though the world itself wanted to honor the peace that had returned. The Peterson home was bathed in golden sunlight, the air carrying a calm that Emily hadn't felt in weeks. For the first time since the strange blue car appeared, she woke without the heavy grip of fear in her chest. Down the hallway, Lily's soft giggles drifted through the air like music. Emily peeked into her daughter's room to find Lily seated cross-legged on the floor, arranging her stuffed animals in a perfect circle. Each toy wore a paper badge that Lily had carefully drawn the night before. Rex, still visiting with Officer Daniels for the morning, sat patiently at her side, his tail wagging like a metronome of joy. "Detective Bunny is on the case," Lily announced, holding up her rabbit and giving it a serious nod. "But Rex is the boss, because he has the best nose." Emily couldn't help but laugh softly. "Good morning, Detective Lily. Is the team ready for another big mission?" Lily looked up, eyes sparkling. "We're ready to keep everyone safe forever." Those simple words pierced Emily's heart with both pride and a twinge of sadness. Lily's innocence was still intact, but Emily knew her daughter had been touched by an experience far bigger than most children ever faced. This was no ordinary game of make-believe. It was the lingering echo of a real-life adventure that had shaped them both. Downstairs, the doorbell rang, drawing Emily from her thoughts. When she opened the door, Officer Daniels stood on the porch in his crisp uniform, Rex sitting obediently at his side. His presence carried the same calm authority it had throughout the ordeal, but today there was something softer in his eyes, a quiet recognition that their story had shifted from fear to hope. "Morning, Peterson detectives," Daniels greeted with a grin. "Mind if we come in for a quick visit?" "Of course," Emily said warmly. "Lily's been waiting for you." At the sound of Daniel's voice, Lily raced downstairs, her paper-badged rabbit clutched tightly in one hand. "Rex!" she squealed, dropping to her knees to hug the loyal German shepherd. Rex responded with a gentle nuzzle, his amber eyes full of affection. Daniels crouched to meet Lily's gaze. "I wanted to stop by before my shift to thank you again," he said. "Last night, we wrapped up the case completely. The man you helped us catch has confessed to everything. Because of you, no one else will be in danger." Lily's brow furrowed as she processed the words. "So, it's really over?" "It's really over," Daniels assured her. "You made sure of that." Emily felt a wave of relief wash over her, deeper and more final than the night of the arrest. The danger was truly gone. Their lives could return to something resembling normal, though she knew they would never quite be the same. "Does that mean Rex can visit us all the time?" Lily asked hopefully. Daniels chuckled. Rex has a lot of cases to solve, but I think we can arrange special visits for our favorite junior detective. Lily beamed, hugging Rex again as if sealing the promise with love. After a few more minutes of playful chatter, Daniels grew more serious. He turned to Emily, his voice low but deliberate. I also wanted to thank you, Emily. You trusted your daughter's instincts. That isn't easy when the stakes are high. Most people would have dismissed her observations. Emily's throat tightened. There were moments when I almost did, she admitted. But something in her eyes. It felt important to listen. Daniels nodded. That intuition, the willingness to listen to children, is exactly what kept everyone safe. We adults often think we see everything, but sometimes the clearest eyes belong to the smallest observers. His words lingered long after he left, carrying a truth Emily knew she would hold forever. Later that day, the neighborhood gathered once more, this time for a more personal celebration. The Petersons' backyard was decorated with colorful balloons and a handmade banner that read, "Thank you, Lily and Rex." Neighbors brought homemade treats and small gifts, their smiles full of gratitude and admiration. Mrs. Palmer, the elderly neighbor who had first noticed the flashing police lights, presented Lily with a scrapbook filled with newspaper clippings and photos from the event. "This is so you'll always remember how brave you were," she said softly. Lily flipped through the pages with wide-eyed wonder. There were pictures of her holding her badge beside Rex, newspaper headlines calling her the littlest detective, and even a handwritten note from the mayor praising her courage. "This is my storybook," Lily whispered, tracing her small fingers over the glossy photographs. "But it's real." The crowd erupted in applause when Officer Daniels stepped forward once more, this time holding a small velvet box. "On behalf of the entire police department," he announced, "we'd like to present Lily with an honorary Medal of Bravery." The medal gleamed in the afternoon sun as Daniels pinned it gently to Lily's shirt. "You didn't just help us catch a suspect," he continued. "You reminded all of us to stay alert, to listen, and to trust even the smallest voices. That makes you a true hero." Tears welled in Emily's eyes as the neighbors cheered, their voices blending with the rustle of leaves in the late summer breeze. For a moment, the backyard felt like the heart of something larger than their small community, a place where courage, trust, and unity outshone fear. As evening fell and the celebration wound down, Emily and Lily stood on the porch, watching the last of the neighbors head home. The sky blushed with streaks of pink and orange, the kind of sunset that carried the promise of better days ahead. "Mommy," Lily said softly, leaning against her mother's side, "do you think Rex will always remember me?" Emily smiled, brushing a strand of hair from her daughter's forehead. "Oh, sweetheart, Rex will never forget you. You're part of his story now, just like he's part of yours." Lily considered this with a thoughtful nod. "Then I'll always keep my badge safe. Because heroes have to be ready, right?" Emily knelt to meet her daughter's eyes, her voice steady but tender. "That's right. But being a hero doesn't always mean solving big cases. Sometimes it just means noticing the small things and caring enough to speak up. You did that, and you changed everything." Lily smiled, her little hand tightening around Emily's. "Then I'll keep noticing. Always." That night, after Lily had drifted off to sleep with her badge and medal safely tucked beside her pillow, Emily sat alone in the quiet living room. She gazed at the framed certificate hanging on the wall, the same one Daniels had given Lily just days before. It read Honorary Junior Detective, but to Emily it meant far more. It was a testament to trust, to the unshakable bond between mother and child, and to the extraordinary power of listening. Emily thought back to the first time she'd seen the blue car idling at the curb, how she had dismissed her own unease and nearly overlooked Lily's careful observations. She realized now that courage didn't always roar. Sometimes it whispered in the soft voice of a child who simply refused to ignore what she saw. Outside, the neighborhood lay bathed in moonlight, every porch light glowing like a silent promise of vigilance. The danger had passed, but the lessons remained etched into the heart of the community, where trust and attentiveness now bloomed stronger than fear. And somewhere, in a quiet police kennel across town, Rex rested after another long day of service. Perhaps he dreamed of the little girl with the bright eyes and the paper-badged rabbit, the child who had proven that heroes can be 3 feet tall and carry stuffed animals instead of weapons. Emily closed her eyes, a deep peace settling over her. Life would go on with its ordinary rhythms, school mornings, bedtime stories, grocery trips. But she knew that within those everyday moments lived the extraordinary truth of their journey. Because once, on a quiet American street, a 3-year-old girl saw what others overlooked. She spoke, she trusted, and she changed the ending of a dangerous story. And in doing so, she reminded everyone, parents, neighbors, and even seasoned police officers, that sometimes the greatest protectors of all are the smallest among us. The house slept soundly that night, wrapped in the comforting knowledge that vigilance and innocence could coexist. And though the world outside would continue to spin with its unknown dangers, the Peterson family and their community would forever carry the quiet strength of a little girl's brave heart and a loyal dog's unwavering nose. For heroes, Emily now understood, come in every size. And sometimes they wear pajamas and carry paper badges into a future made safer by their watchful eyes.